Okay, great. I have the honor, privilege, and just distinct authority as MC to welcome to the stage this next conversation with a dear friend of mine. If you don't know Pat Whalen, also please follow his Instagram, because if Anonymous had a night show, it would be Pat. He is such an incredible cynic, optimist, and overall great person, and is really rooted in Chicago's topics and conversations that really affect us, but in such a vibrant, funny way that I think only equates it if George Carlin had a nerdy nephew, it would also be Pat.
That's the highlight of my day right there.
Right. And Pat also has conversations with a lot of leaders in the community in wonderful, wonderful bars where I think we must be drinking in order to actually hear these conversations, but also humanize our politicians and our civic leaders in ways that allow them to be real people, to have real conversations. So Pat has a show. If you want to go ahead and follow it and see some of these things live, we can do that. If you look at your program, you'll see all that information here. But we also have the honor of having next to him the Chicago City Clerk, Ana Valencia. Please give a round of applause for Ana Valencia, the Chicago City Clerk, and Pat Whalen for this next discussion. Take it away.
Thank you, Melissa. My Uncle George Carlin is looking down or up, depending on your perspective on George's material. He is, he's smiling up at us. Give it up for Melissa one more time, guys. Holding it down, emceeing, hosting us throughout this fantastic day. And just real quick, we'll do another at the end, but just a short round of applause for yourselves. Coming out on a Saturday to be engaged civically. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of City Clerk Ana Valencia. City Clerk, thank you so much for joining me here.
Thanks for having me. I still see some people in the back that need to come to the front. Come on, I see you. I'm not nagging to you. Like, keep coming forward. Come on.
We won't pick on you.
I'm going to pick on you. But we can't see you because there's a bright light right there. So if you feel more comfortable, you're more than welcome to come up and be closer in the community.
I'm just saying, I showered. I got my suit dry cleaned for the occasion. This is a very special day for me. So thanks to everyone again for being here. There's so much to get to. The encapsulation of our discussion here is live stream agendas and ordinances. Oh my. Oh my is my favorite part.
This sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm saying, I am the geekiest guy you have ever met. I get all dressed up for these types of conversations, and you know, I think it's interesting that City Clerk and the office and your kind of vision and impetus since you got in 2017 was to make things more engaging, more accessible to the city of Chicago. So as a guy who lives here and pays the occasional parking ticket, I'll be honest, and gets his city sticker, and we're going to talk about why that is important and how government doesn't just happen, has to be paid for, planned for. But this morning, you were actually in front of City Council, where you usually are. I gotta ask how you have the best seats at City Council meetings. Front and center every time, it's amazing. But you were in front of City Council today in a different capacity, talking about your upcoming budget. How did it go? I'm sorry I couldn't be there for moral support, but I was learning about live stream agendas, ordinances, oh my. So how did it go down at Council today?
Beautiful, and welcome Chicago. How are you feeling out there? Yes, you must be nerds like us to want to be here on a Saturday to talk about civics, but I think it's so important that we're engaged now more than ever, and it's been one of my North Stars in the office to make sure that our residents understand what's going on, how your government works, how to hold your city council members accountable, how to find things online, why do we do things, like answering those questions, why do you have to pay a city sticker fee? And knowing where that money goes. It's really important for government to be transparent, but more important for us to be engaged, to ask questions, to show up. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna be open and honest and transparent. That's what you get with me. Tuesday was tough. I know it was tough for a lot of us. So for you to be back here, ready to be involved and engaged, and the local level is where it's at. The local level is going to hold the line on whatever comes out of DC. So it's really important for us to stay engaged, even though we may want to be home in our pajamas and crying and drinking pumpkin spice lattes. That may be me. Eating ice cream, ordering pizza. But thank you for showing up and being engaged. And I hope we can have an interactive dialogue today. But yes, I was at my budget hearing. This is my seventh city council budget. I can't believe I've been in office that long ago. I came in, I was sworn in 5 days after Donald Trump. And I was one of those women that raised my hand to run for higher office. I had always been behind the scenes and a worker bee. And I decided to raise my hand and serve. And it's been the most incredible job I've had. But my first budget hearing when I was only 30 years old, or 31-ish, it was 4 hours long. And I went home and cried afterwards. It was like being hazed by 50 city council members.
It's a hot seat. It's a hot seat. I don't mean to interrupt, but like, from my perspective as someone who's never sat in front of the alders and been questioned for 4 hours straight, they have tough questions because they want to go back to their constituents and say, I am wringing every cent out of this city government to make sure that your taxes are lower. And so department heads and people who run portions of city government are asked very difficult questions that sometimes are not 100% genuine in my experience. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, Clerk Valencia. But I'm glad to hear you went down from 4 hours to just over an hour and a half today.
Yes, and actually it was praise. In fact, one city council member, I won't name who, always has a question for me, always a tough fiscal hot question. And he said, I have no questions. Thank you for bringing a very fair and balanced approach and thoughtful budget. Inside I was like, yes! Inside I was like, okay, cool, yeah, But,
Play it cool.
But I have an incredible team, and the two women led my budget process this year and did an incredible job.
It's great to hear.
Yeah, see, women are still killing it.
Coming in under budget from last year, less money overall for the taxpayers, and working on the accessibility that is so important to city government. For me, and we could argue all day, civics does include politics. It includes government and how it works, but politics is a factor in the way that government gets shaken out. And so that's why it is so important that you mentioned Tuesday, which I blocked it out. Can't remember a thing.
Just block it out. Just for now, block it out.
You were a worker bee. I want to talk maybe after about how you weren't really considering yourself in the running to be appointed in 2017 and how that all came about. But first, I want to make sure I get this right. Your dad was painting a lawyer's home, and that's what got you into politics. Is that correct? Or government, should I say?
Yes. Actually, this is a great story. So I was in college, and I was going into my senior year of college, and I always try to get a summer internship. And anyone who's young here in high school or college, it's really important to get a summer internship, like every summer, paid or non-paid. But I always had to take a paid because I couldn't afford non-paid. But even if it's just a couple days job shadowing someone unpaid, it's worth it because it gives you an idea of what you want to do and what you don't want to do. My first year in college, I was at the county clerk's office, and all I did was, this is before everything went digital, filed voter cards in an office every hour, every day. I was like, nope, I can't. I'm falling asleep at my desk. Nope, I'm an outside person. Going into my senior year of college, my dad, who is just retired, is a union painter. He was painting this lawyer's house, struck up a conversation with his wife, and said, oh, what's your daughter doing in college? She's like, she's really interested in politics. She's really interested in government. She said, oh, my husband's running for judge. So I'm pretty sure the wife convinced her husband, you're hiring this girl. I showed up that summer to work, and I loved it. I didn't know that people got paid to be on campaigns, to knock doors, to do fundraising efforts, to march in parades, and I was hooked. I loved it. Fast forward, I was graduating 2007. The campaign manager on that race was working for for U.S. Senator Barack Obama, who was gearing up to run for president. I interviewed for that position to be some field position. I bought my first ever suit, walked to the local Starbucks, didn't get it. How could they not hire me? I mean, come on.
They're lost.
My first defeat, but resilience comes. And they ended up sending my resume to Virginia, and I got a call and said, come be an organizer in Virginia. We have state house and delegate races and the governor's race. So 2 weeks after I graduated college, my grandfather gave me a loan to buy a car, and I moved across country. I lived with volunteers. I had no idea who they were. And I knocked doors 7 days a week, and that's how I started.
Sounds like you didn't learn out of a book and show up prepared to understand how that all worked. Sounds like you learned a lot by doing.
There's no like career fair at your college or anywhere with a campaign sign and say, come be a campaign organizer, come be a political director, come be a communications person, a strategy person. Like nowhere in my parents were not active in politics. I mean, they were civically active in our church and our community, but not politics. So that's now why I'm so excited and want to do this. And we can talk about Next Gen City Council, because I see Maya here from Chicago Public Schools, of why we started Next Gen City Council for our youth, because I want them to see themselves in the seats of power. One other critical thing that was really important for me, in high school, I had a mentor, my student council advisor, and she got me a job shadow opportunity to go to Springfield for the day. And I shadowed a state senator, a Democrat woman state senator, and I remember walking onto the floor of the Capitol and looking up and just being like, wow, could I be here? Could I do this? And that one moment still is with me, of that moment that you are just seeing yourself that what you can be, right? You can't be what you can't see. And so I think exposure for our youth, exposure of different careers, different professional settings is critical for our youth to be able to see themselves in that position.
Can't see it, can't be it. Not just a clever rhyme. It's actually true. And honestly, with the history of Chicago and its political history, you ask people who aren't from here or are from here. Obviously there is a culture of corruption that we are combating, and it has separated people from the ability to feel as though they can participate or even have a shot at leveraging anything within government. But that's what this event and this conversation and this office are all about. So in moving into accessibility, because they did give me a purview of what to talk about and a remote. Check this. Are you ready for this? Bam, bam, bam.
Whoa.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back. This is great. Love that. I would leave it there the whole time, but we have a lot to get to. Okay, I'm taking headshots. I'm taking headshots with headshots in the background. Thank you, Melissa. There's you, there's me, here's us, love that. And this is ChiCityClerk.com. I gotta tell you, you wanna know how nerdy I am? I go on this website more than I check my email, then I go on Facebook. It's a problem. And the reason it's a problem is this right here. So behind you, and I'm not gonna make you turn all the way around, but it's a red circle around the watch now. And literally, if you go on to the city clerk's website and there is a committee hearing or a city council meeting happening at the same time you're on that website, you just click that link and it takes you right to a live feed of being able to watch it. Now, I know that doesn't exactly
And that's where the action happens.
It is where the action is. I'm saying it's the room where it happened. I'm sorry. But I know it doesn't sound super exciting, but I think that it is important to think about when people are not civically engaged, and I'm not poo-pooing it, people are busy, they're tired, they have a lot going on in their lives, and it's difficult to come home and eat more vegetables, am I right? Take it from me. Wife's trying to get me to do more salads. Why? I want to eat my feelings. The Ben & Jerry's of frozen pizzas. But when people do get engaged at the local level, it's typically something to do with one of these committee meetings or city council. I mean, seriously, you do have the best seat in the house. So the mayor's in the big chair, and then in the foreground is your seat. So you literally have a seat looking right at the action. Zoning changes, liquor licenses. These are the things that get people activated and outside and really interested in who's on what committee and what decision happens when. That wasn't a question, so I'll spare you. Let's go back to the homepage. City vehicle stickers and parking. So we're getting into kind of like what the office does, right? And that is what they asked me to talk about. We're getting there.
Yep, parking passes, dog licensing.
Dog licensing. Do we have to license the dogs?
Yes,
we do?
$5.
$5.
Yep.
Okay, well that's not bad. I'll
if
take
you want to
4.
find your dog too.
Okay.
And we can help
fair.
you find your dog. And then City Key, which I love.
So this is just vehicle stickers and parking. This is a part of it. I mean, in terms of generating revenue, this is an important part of government.
$133 million of revenue each year.
Not bad.
Mic drop.
Not bad.
We fund 10 city departments, and we pave 4,000 miles of road. Well, we don't, but CDOT paves 4,000 miles of road. So the wheel tax is actually so that it can go into the wheel fund, which pays for all those potholes you don't like, streetscapes, all those things is from the wheel tax. So
the money generated from that, the revenue has to be used
for the 10 infrastructure departments and for our road fund. So that's to do all the potholes. So just so you know what your money is going for.
And that is a big part of your vision for the office, is helping people better understand, while yes, we are, there are fines and fees, we want to reduce those as much as possible, but we want to be transparent about where that money goes. And this is a good example.
Yes, and this is why I got some praise today at my budget, because we are in a very serious financial crisis. I mean, we are at $1 billion deficit, the largest deficit and gap that we've ever had in Chicago. So every department has to do their part. And as a citywide elected official, I took that very seriously. So our budget is about $15.1 million. We came a little under this year, but we were able to cut about $500,000 in non-personnel. We are going to raise a little bit in fees. Don't kill me, but those fees have been raised since 1998. And we had to adjust those. And then we also are doing some reforms. So we're going to have some reforms in there. We're going to freeze prices for seniors, who are on fixed income. We're going to have an amnesty month. So meaning next year we'll have a whole month that if you don't have your city sticker, you can come in. We won't charge you any late fees or back charges. We also created the first ever reduced term city sticker. So it's a 4-month city sticker. So if you can't afford a 1-year or a 2-year, you can buy them in 4 months. So they're like $35-ish every 4 months to break up that price. And then we also have, because of the fines and fees reform that I led on in 2019, we put out a whole report on the things that we wanted to do. You can get a payment plan for as low as $10. We also have a fix-it ticket. So if you get a city sticker ticket, which, get ready for this, y'all. If you don't have a city sticker, you can get a $200 ticket.
I know.
$200, which is insane. And I tried to get us to decrease that, but that's not going to happen. So that's the mayor's office. So because of that, we do have a fix-it ticket program that if you get a city sticker ticket for the first time and you haven't bought a city sticker yet, you bring that into my office, you buy a city sticker, either 1 year, 2-year, or reduced term, and they'll waive that $200 ticket. Now that's for one-time offense, but we want to do more. We can do more. It's just going to depend on the mayor's office and Department of Finance and the city council how much they want to do more. And then we got to get the word out there of hey, did you move to Chicago? Have you bought your city sticker? If you drive in the city, buy your city sticker, get your residential parking passes so you don't get these tickets, and it can be avoided. And if you drive on our roads, you have to help repair those roads. So I don't think it's that big of a lift, but that's the way it goes.
I am not, I just think there's a lot of misinformation out there always about people who say, well, the government's just taking our money and we don't know where it's going, and I think that's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate because the level of accessibility that we have to what the functioning of government is and how much say we have within it is very much at our fingertips. So I think it's a little disingenuous for people to say, send their kids to public schools, drive on public roads. I'm going to shut up. This is about you. This is about you and not what I think. So we're also now on Chicago City Key. The first time I met Clerk Valencia, this poor woman, she was just out trying to enjoy an anniversary dinner with her husband, and they were getting into the car by Water Tower, and I was like, Clerk Valencia, I have a talk show. And I was in a hoodie and jeans. I wasn't wearing a suit. And so she's like, hi. She was like, very nice. And I said, you were so personable and kind to me as a stranger running up to you. It's a shame that you're stuck behind a desk in City Hall all the time. But then I see Mobile City Hall. So which is it? Are you stuck behind a desk or you're out in the community talking to people? I am hybrid. I love to be in the community. My team can tell when I've been in the office too long because I get really frustrated and my chief of staff's like, she needs to go. She needs to talk to real people. I love talking to real people because that's when you get the ideas. That's when you hear what's happening, how policies are impacting their communities, what needs to change. I mean, I literally emailed the commissioner of buildings yesterday because someone reached out to me to ask how to extend their home. And they're like, I don't even know where to start. I was like, neither do I. Let's email the commissioner. She got back to me that day. I forwarded her answer of where to start.
to this gentleman, and that's how government should work. It shouldn't be like we're hiding anything. And I think one of the most inequitable things we have in Chicago is access to information. We have so many free services and great things to take. Like, no one knows about the Fix-It Ticket program. And my chief of staff was like, are we even doing this still? So she had to go find it on Department of Finance website, couldn't find it on their website. Then she found lots of errors that we pointed out to them. This is an error, and I'm like, and why aren't we telling people about this program? We like fought to get it passed, but no one knows. Same with City Key. So we don't have large marketing dollars. I mean, I think I have $50,000 in my marketing budget, which is like nothing. So how do we let people know? So that's something like this is great avenues, and we're thinking innovative. Like, where do we go where people live? Like libraries, grocery stores, popping up at laundromats. Like, do you know there's one laundromat in Chicago that 13,000 people use a week?
13,000?
13,000 people use a week, and that's where we should be. Is like people are like hanging out there waiting for the laundry. Let's be there giving out services. Just saying, think outside the box. City Key. This started 6 years ago because community advocates for years wanted a municipal ID card. People couldn't get the state ID or driver's license. They didn't have the right documentation. They couldn't pay the money, all these other things. And so we had homeless advocates, veterans advocates, undocumented advocates, domestic violence survivor advocates, reentry advocates, youth advocates, seniors, LGBTQ, you name it. We had the whole enchilada here in Chicago come to the table and say, create us a government ID we can use. And so we had 50 roundtables in 3 months that said what it should look like, what the age should be, what documents you should be using. So it is a free, I want to say that, free 99.
Free?
Free.
If it's free, it's me.
Chicago is giving you something for free. Do you believe it?
I love it. I don't turn down nothing but my collar.
So as you're paying that wheel tax, just remember we have something free that you can take with you. So it's a free government ID. It's a CTA transit card. It's a library card.
3-in-1.
A prescription discount card.
4-in-1.
4-in-1.
4.
It's an emergency contact on the back for your children if you want to get a children's ID. Because we give IDs from 0 to whenever. And so we have this free. You can put a veteran's designation on it. You can self-identify your own gender, first in the state to do that. And we print on site, meaning I could set up a City Key thing here, and I should do that next year, remind me.
Noted.
We can have a City Key right out here. We'll print it in 10 minutes. We give you back your paperwork, and we don't even keep a record.
And why is that?
So, yeah, clap. I mean, come on. Yes.
Please clap.
And we've given out 130,000 cards all over the city. And when the new arrival crisis was happening, we showed up there. We have printed at the Cook County Jail when people are leaving and don't have an ID to start their new lives. Because if you think about it, you need an ID to start a utility bill, to get housing, to get your kids in Chicago public schools, to pick up a prescription. So if you don't have an ID, you're kind of stuck. So we're really proud of this program. 130,000 have been served. And what was the question you asked me? I forgot.
I mean, there were a few,
Sorry.
but I think it's important that, like, you know, in talking about accessibility, which is kind of the umbrella that we're talking about here, I mean, you literally created a way that people who were facing a barrier of being able to access services that taxes pay for and taken out of their paychecks, typically, that they pay for, that you create a way for them to be able to access them.
And even more so, we have 60 business partners that give free discounts.
I was going to say.
Because we didn't want it to be a stigma card just for marginalized communities. We wanted it to be a card for everyone. So I carry one. Rachel from my team has one. We need to get you one.
I'm getting one. It's
on
free.
camera, social media.
I might get two.
Get two.
I might.
Get one over for your family. And then you start showing it around. But Momentum Coffee, a black-owned coffee shop, they have one in South Loop. They want to have Millennium Park, 10% off. Brown Sugar Bakery, 10% off. Art Institute, you can use it on all their free days. Like
sporting events, cultural institutions, one free day
Chicago
at the field.
Sky discount, Chicago Fire discount.
10% off select tickets to the Joffrey Ballet, $2 off admission to Chicago Children's Museum. This is excellent. Discounts on prescription drugs.
See? So who's going to get their City Key? Awesome. Sign me up to be here at the Civics Day, and because we'll be here to do City Keys next year.
I'll make myself available as well.
We need you before then. We need to put you on social media. Because, here's another thing I want to tell you, since we're giving information to tell all your family and friends, In 2 weeks, we're going to be launching an online platform for City Key. So we will still have our in-person events. So you will actually be able to get your City Key in 2 weeks on your own. We will have an online platform where you can upload your documents, upload your photo. They will do an authentication verification on the back end, and then it'll be mailed to your home. So that will be a new feature that anyone can use. So you can get your City Key card in 2 weeks and take advantage of it.
And there's so much digitizing that went into, I think, your last 7 years of, bringing an office into the digital age. But now it seems like you're realizing, there are like seniors and other folks who don't have access to the internet or aren't able to as readily use the digital space as others now have an access through mail. And I also think your staff said you can receive, is that what you're talking about? Receive ID through the mail by the end of the year.
Yeah, so you'll get it in about 2 weeks or 10 days whenever you do the online platform. But we'll still have the in-person events because that is incredibly important. Like, we show up at libraries, community centers, community-based organizations in the neighborhood. We were at the Pilsen food pantry one day. So we show up in community because we know not everyone has a computer at home or Wi-Fi or can get a City Key online. So we will still have our in-person events. And we'll have this online platform as well. And you can make appointments. If you want City Key, go to shycityclerk.com, hit City Key, and make an appointment for any time we're in your neighborhood.
That's awesome. And there's a tab, obviously, on the website. Again, shycityclerk.com. I think I pointed over there.
Scrolling.
Okay, that's meeting. Okay, don't get ahead of yourself, Pat. That's me all over the place. So there's Chicago City Key. Obviously, it's key. Become a City Key partner. You can apply for City Key online, obviously.
Yes, if you have any businesses and you want to be a business partner, reach out to us. It's free to be a business partner. We will add you to all of our materials. We'll put you on social media, tag you when we're out. I will maybe stop at your business. I love to stop at City Key businesses and say hello and try to publicize you as much as possible so that you get some foot traffic too.
Visibility is key. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. City Key, City Council Division. Now, this is me all over the place. I created a way for my phone where I go, is there a City Council meeting today? And Siri will go, all right, we'll take it to the website, but you could just tap it in, but my phone will do it for me. City Council Division, and if you go down to Electronic Legislative Management System, ELMS, you can then go over to the meeting calendar, and this is just me talking now. I apologize, Clerk Valencia, but it takes you to this, okay? Now, you can click on past meetings to see what already happened. Because, again, typically, people will hear about council meetings that are affecting their ward or their neighborhood, and they'll say, well, it already happened. What's the point? Well, you can go on the City Clerk's website and look up the agenda of what happened. What did they vote on? How many people voted? But if you go to, it takes you right to all meetings right when you go. But I clicked on upcoming meetings. Now, this was exciting for me. I did this, I think, last night or the day before. I scrolled down to today at 9 a.m., Committee on Budget and Government Operations is meeting. Oh, I'm intrigued. A Saturday morning budget committee? I love it. Let's see, what are they going to talk about? I can't wait. So you click on that. It takes you to this. You click on Files. All right? Now, Files includes Agenda. You click on Agenda, and look at that. City Clerk, Saturday, November 9th at 9 a.m. Give it up. She wants to do 2 meetings in one Saturday. It's amazing. I mean, it is your job.
It is my job, and I love my job. But no, this is actually, I'm glad you brought this up because we are digitizing city council functions. Oh, has it been an effort? Let me tell you. Chairman Irvin of the Budget Committee ended my budget hearing today, and he said, well, Clerk Valencia, well, I shouldn't do his voice. I was going to try to do it. But it's like, Clerk Valencia, we really appreciate you taking us into the 21st century with modernizing city council. I know with, this new electronic voting, I know we've been going kicking and screaming with you, but because we changed 2 years ago, the way that city council voted was by a paper roll call. Like, I literally would say, Alderman LaSpada, Alderman Hopkins, Alderman Burnett. And we
didn't talk much about this, but just like outside of all the services that your office offers and your integration of the community, make government more accessible, you attend every city council meeting and you kind of count heads.
There's too many council meetings anymore.
No kidding.
There used to be 12. Now it's like 23 last year.
Special meetings. A lot of special meetings.
You guys, I want government to be boring again. Can we go back to government just being boring? not taking national headlines, not taking. I mean, when can we go back to just like potholes and rodents and not be like on the front page of the New York Times because we insulted someone or said this? It's like, I want to go back to boring.
We are, I don't know if we're getting there yet, but I'm rooting for you. And one of my favorite parts of city council meetings is when they do take an electronic vote, and you kind of sound like a third grade teacher or something. Like, if you need help, raise your hand. She does a lot of that with alders.
If you need help to log in, please raise your hand, and we will come help you.
Miss Valencia, I need help.
Do you know 90% of the time, here's an inside tip. 90% of the time, if you see me saying that, it's not that the technology is not working. It's because they forgot their login and password. Now, I can't yell at them because 90% of the time I forget my login and password, and my husband yells at me like, write it down.
This is why I started with a personal story, though, because, alders have trouble logging into things. Government should be accessible, but, just take it from, it's just people. It's just a bunch of people that are just trying to do the best they can.
It's
and so
human.
These institutions should not be intimidating to folks. So I thank you again for making these so accessible, because I'm logging in a lot. I don't know how many hits you get on that website, but 30% is me easy. All the time.
And I think that's just, we want to invite everyone. We're working on language access and we have subtitles so that people can really engage. We would love to do multiple languages. That's something we're still looking at, of how do we stream with multiple languages for people, or if people are attending in person, how do we have earpieces for a bilingual component for folks. So that we still have gains to do for that. But in terms of electronically, the paper roll call is gone, thank God, and people can now. It used to take us 3 days to upload everyone's votes from a meeting. 3 days to tabulate and upload them. And then now they automatically go, and you can see how people vote in real time. And then the next stage, the last stage, is go to completely paperless, which is going to freak everyone out. We're going into the cloud with our online portal. The mayor's office will have to submit their legislation in a portal system, just like the aldermen, the committees, the departments. And then all of, in the back end of my office, we still have proofreaders. We have people that read out loud and proofread. I'm not joking. They're proofreading. They are scanning in paperwork and making a PDF journal that they print out. And I'm just like, no.
Bless your hearts.
Bless your heart.
I bet they had a lot of red pens in the budget when they used to do that. I just real quick want to point out that under the City Council Division tab here, if you look down, I didn't make a slide for this, but the third from the bottom is Council Meeting Video Archives 2019 to present. So the other thing to think about is that if you do miss a meeting and you really want to go back and see how your alder voted, or when they're explaining what an ordinance means, what the impact will be on your community, you can go back into the archives that are all hosted on Vimeo and very easily access those meetings that have already happened.
You want some really cool update information for our history nerds?
Yes, are we breaking news?
We're breaking news.
Excellent.
We just received a grant to actually, in our archive vault, we have audio tapes from the Harold Washington days, audio tapes of it. And we got a grant to bring that online, to digitize that so the public can use it. We have documents from the beginning of the city of Chicago, these historic documents that we got a grant to keep them preserved, to make sure they're in the right vault, and those actually are open to the public. So if you're doing a history project or something, you can always reach out to our office, and we can open up those documents for you to see and review. You can't take them out of our office, but you can review them. You can take photos of them. So we have actually a lot of university students that will reach out that are going to archive school, or historians that will come by and be able to look at those documents.
I cannot wait. This is a weekend for me. I'm going to go back and watch Council Wars. This is phenomenal. Look, there is a lot. I mean, talk about opening it up to the public. I want to give folks a chance to ask a question. So if you have questions, please prepare. But there's so much I didn't get to, including the youth engagement that you're doing and bringing kids into council chambers. I mean, like you said, first time in the Senate chambers in Springfield or what have you, you look up and you go, wow, it's so majestic. But it really should be more accessible. So bringing kids into those types of scenarios and having them pass a mock ordinance, I believe. So we talked about live stream agendas. We didn't talk about ordinances.
Yeah, so let me talk about ordinances and next gen together.
I don't know how to coordinate so folks are able to ask questions. Maybe I'll just call on people, but after we talk about ordinances. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
Melissa.
perfect. So who knows what an ordinance is? Raise your hand. Okay, we have some. Okay, so ordinance is basically a fancy term for city legislation. So if you think about like a bill in Springfield, a bill in DC, it's kind of the same thing. It's just a city ordinance. It's like a city law. And so there's a few ways you can have a city ordinance introduced. The mayor's office can introduce a city ordinance. A department that goes through the mayor's office can introduce. The city council members can introduce. And guess who else can introduce? This person right here.
What?
And so I do often have introduced like the city key. We had to have legislation change, but there are some things that we might work on the next year to also introduce. So that's kind of the process. Now, once a city ordinance is introduced, it then is at council, goes to a committee. A committee has a hearing on it. Once it passes committee, then it goes to the next council meeting to have a vote by the whole city council. You have to have 26 plus 1 votes, or 25 plus 1, 26 votes, a majority. Some things you may need 34 votes, depending on what we're talking about. So on Wednesday, there's a special city council meeting that folks called.
Special.
Because they are going to attempt to take the property tax, and they have to have 34 votes to get that out of committee. So you'll see that they'll have to have 34 votes to get out of the committee. They're going to try to rip it apart from the budget ordinance to stand alone, and then they're going to try to vote it down.
Don't get too attached to the current budget proposal, folks.
Yeah, it changes, and it's going to change a lot.
And ordinances are backdated as well, just as there are archives of all the video of committees and council meetings, which are separate. There are also, you can go back and look up any ordinance.
Yep, any ordinance online. If you go to the online platform, you can just put in city key, and the ordinance will pop up. And so if you put in simple terms, hopefully that's still the case. We're still making tweaks, but we wanted to simplify it so people didn't have to put like legal language in or very technical language to find things. So that if you just go in and you're looking for like something happening at your park or something happening in your neighborhood or streetscape or bike lanes, you can like pull that up.
I find it pretty user friendly, but I will say if you go and look at the agendas, you can pull up exactly what the number of that ordinance is or the exact title and put it into the search. It'll come up right away. Who's got questions?
And then real quick before questions,
I could do this forever, please.
Before for questions, I wanted to say next gen because we have Maya from Chicago. Maya, stand up. She is amazing. She works at the Civics team in Chicago Public Schools. So she is helping our young people understand how to be civically engaged in high school, which is so important. They have to take a civics class to graduate, which is a requirement we should have to understand the importance of voting, but not just being voting, but knowing your voice. So since 2018, we have had over 500 students go through this program. It costs us only maybe $20,000 a year to do it because we're very lean. But we work with 6 high schools. We're going to try to go to 8 high schools here in Chicago. And so I go to their neighborhood. Like we're at Michelle Clark in Austin. We were at Fanger and Roseland. We've been to Gwendolyn Brooks. We've been to Benito Juarez and Pilsen, to Lakeview, to Amundsen, all these high schools. I go and teach about what we're learning, right? And then they come to city council, and we put one high school from one neighborhood and another high school from another neighborhood in together, and they get to learn about what's happening in their neighborhoods, and then they talk about things that they care about. Then they go back to their schools, and either they run for office or they're chosen by their teachers. The top 5 or 6 come back to council, and they run city council for the day. We have a mayor, we have a clerk. They get to meet commissioners. The superintendent of police spoke to them. They get to hear their ideas, and they get to create laws, city ordinances.
It's like Disney World for me.
I know. You should come.
I should come.
Next April, please come. We know one of the things, Maya, we haven't done, we didn't do a press component.
Ooh.
And I think it would be really cool to have students come as the press corps and write about it and like ask questions, like a press conference after, and make them like stand up and ask questions to the press.
I think that's a good idea, but nothing gets the kids going like Robert's Rules of Order. I gotta say, they absolutely love. They go nuts for it. It's
we
all
are
over TikTok.
nerding out.
Well, let's get out some questions. And Pat, thank you so much. I think the only thing you would run for is office. So it's been invigorating.
We'll run for Italian beef. Who's got a question?
Yes, great.
Did you say that the city Chicago key card was a transit card?
Yes, it's a CTA transit card too.
Free?
It's not free. You got to put money on it. No,
Oh,
we're not that. We're not giving that much out. But
Okay.
we print the government ID on top of the transit card. So when you do you have your city key card, or maybe we have it on the website? So when you get it, we actually print out the government ID on your transit card. So you just have to. It's still tappable. So you just take it and refill it, and then we have the library card number on the back. So we got a city key right here. So this is what it looks like.
It's like being with a celebrity.
See, it's like it's the government ID on the back. You can tap it as your CTA card, and on the back of it, your library card. Just take to your library and activate it, and then it has a prescription discount card as well. You can take to your local pharmacies. We are trying, because the seniors ride for free, and that card comes from what we call RTA. It's like the Regional Transit Association. And Metra. And so we're trying to figure out how do we buy the card stack for the seniors ride free, so then we can print that for the seniors. Seniors love City Key.
Doesn't just happen. What do you got, Melissa?
Clerk Valencia, thank you. I think a lot of people could do your role and just like stick with filing papers, and you are dragging government into the digital age, so I'm very appreciative.
Hear.
My question is, and you're going to hate me for this one, you have the residential parking permit.
Here we
right
go with
above your
RPPs,
head.
yeah.
I'm just going to say, on my block, it's 24-hour permit. Could I not buy a pass right now in November that expires in December? Could you please change that so it's 12 months duration?
12, because you can
Instead,
buy.
everything expires on December 31st for the
Yeah.
whole world,
And
which is crazy. And it probably puts a lot of work on your office, too.
I think, so the reason why we keep changing it every year, and the fun part, I get to pick the color. I get to pick the color. The new color is teal for
Teal.
2025.
Excellent.
It was lavender.
Looks so great with your boot on the car.
Great
Matches. I said it.
That's
just
true.
me.
No, and listen, no, that's true though. Like we made the fines and fees reform. We opened Pandora's box, but there's more to do. And you're right, the boot is huge. That's really important. And if you look, it impacts our west and south side the most. Yes. So that has to be something we do. The one thing I did like also we were able to do was stop suspending driver's license for non-moving violations, but they still suspend driver's license for other things. So we had to look at that as well. And the debt that we have on the books for people that we're not getting. And one of the thoughts about thinking outside of the box is like, well, what if we incentivize people, hey, if you pay some of your debt off, we'll give you a percentage off. So
That's
10%
wonderful. They do
off.
that for collections all the time, and that really helps.
I mean, that
exorbitant.
gets people's debt out, and you get something for the city, but
And you said some of these
we're not there.
are decisions of finance for the mayors. Is this going to be a part of budget negotiations, to your mind?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Good question.
I think it's going to be all depends on Wednesday. I know they're trying to, the city council is really trying to figure out other ways to close this gap, but it's a very big gap to close. And also, just so you know, the property tax increase that they're talking about under Mayor Lightfoot, the last year in office, she paused it because it was one that was supposed to happen gradually over time. And then when the new mayor came in, they didn't turn it back on. So it's 2 years expired. And so that's why we're seeing this kind of big shift. But you have to think about decades before, people were not increasing property taxes over time when they should have, and now it's all coming back at one time. So it's hitting us when inflation is high. It's hitting us when there's other things that are high, groceries. So people are feeling double impact. So it's no one ever wants to do that, but I want you to know the facts too, because a lot of times the public doesn't know the facts of what's happening.
I know this administration has been really big on reducing fines and fees off the back of the public during campaign, and this is something I heard you talking about in 2019. Government has to be funded, but we got to come up with new revenue solutions, and this is part of the public engagement that we're talking about with alders.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for the transparency around
Yeah.
that as well. I know that these are really tough conversations to have the balance of finance and debt, and also living in one of the most expensive cities in the world with the taxes and the fees and the privatizations. So thank you for that. We have time for just one last question because we have to wrap up. But then remember, City Clerk Valencia will be in the hallway ready for your questions, and we'll take a singular orderly line for this public official.
Okay, I have a question in reference to the Next Gen program. As you can see, I have a son. Is it for only high schoolers, or can it be for like elementary school? Because he's in a high school, but he's in the AC program with the 7th grade, but they're in high school setting. And
That's
if so, where do we
amazing.
sign up at?
Well, congratulations. Sounds like a very smart cookie there.
Thank you.
Ready to run for office.
Yes.
No, right now it's only for high school students, and CPS picks the high schools based on the civics teacher, where they're at in their lessons. But it's been really funny because I've seen freshman students paired with senior kids, and these freshman kids take them to task, and it's awesome. Like, they are definitely kind of on the same way. But if your son's class, and to anyone here, if your school, regardless of where you go, ever wants a tour of City Hall to see council chambers, reach out to us. My email is anna.valencia@cityofchicago.org. If you just send me an email, I'll have my team set up a tour. You could come when there is a council meeting, or just, it is your house. It's the people's house in City Hall, and you have access to it. So even if you can't go through the program, you can definitely come and do a field trip. I've taken a lot of kids through the field trips. And back to your question, the reason why we do it annually in different colors is because of fraud. So we've known that people get used to the color, and then they can copy it, duplicate it, and that's why. So I know it's annoying, but fraud, legal stuff, boring. Yeah, they all change, yeah.
You can always reach out with more questions. I want to thank Melissa and everyone here at City Civics.
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
out. Thank you,
Thank
Clerk
you.
Valencia.
Never was a more entertaining conversation with a city clerk than there was today. Thank you so much, Ana Valencia. And make sure you follow Pat Whalen for all things Pat.